So, hello again to our GAMPRG1. Today, we're gonna
Hi,
discuss.
sir.
Hello. We're gonna discuss more on um, coding using blueprints for Unreal Engine. That one I will discuss on. I mean, if you've gone through milestone one, they should be, know, familiar. I will discuss how to add some controls to the controller for our character. Other thing is I will teach how to use colliders. Colliders, how to bind or yeah, how to bind events when a event happens such as like on overlap or on hit. Okay? So that I will teach today. Ano pa ba? We'll see if you reach event dispatchers because that is also a milestone too. Okay? Uh, Sige. Let me share my screen. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sige. So, if you've done milestone 1, this should be familiar. So, in order for us to add player inputs for a character to move, what we need is a player controller. Okay? So, player controller handles all the player inputs. And then, what we can do is, doon rin yung ano mangyayari sa input, or we have character handle like what happens, like they have a function for move forward or whatever. Okay, so una, of course they say that you have to create a folder for our inputs, for our controller inputs. So let me also create that controller. Okay, so ang mahalag sa controllers is using these two: input action and input mapping context. So input action, imagine this as what will happen when what are the actions. Okay, so I'll show you. So for, let's say, input move forward, input action or IA underscore move forward. So yung laman nito is consumer input, trigger when false, reserve all mappings, value type, triggers, modifiers. Okay, and you have settings here. The important here is this value type. Ito, you don't really have to touch much because si mapping context handles this somewhat. Okay, value type is important and you'll see later on. So for move forward, what do you think should be the value type? Should it be a boolean, a float,
Float, sir.
a float? Okay? Kasi if you're gonna say move forward, that's either forward or backward. So positive or negative. Kung boolean kasi is like 0, 1, it doesn't have, para mag-check ka pa kung 0 ba yun, it'll go backwards. Question, paano kung di ka gumagalaw? Right? So, best idea is float here. Okay? So let's also create for uh, left and right. So in this case, we have, ayan. So again, right click, input, input action. So in this case, move right. So si move right, again, value type, gawin natin float. Then comes the important part. Setting which key to press for the action to happen, which is under input mapping context. So in this case, let's call this demo mapping context or demo input mapping context. Okay, so if you open this, you're met with this, just mappings, descriptions. If you press the plus on the mappings, it will add a action mapping. And then if you click on the arrow on the side, it'll drop down and you'll see there is none. If you click the none, it'll actually show which actions do you want. Right now we have all this: jump, look, move forward, move right. So this is from the template that we have: jump, look, move. But this is the ones that we created: move forward and move right. So move forward, when you click it, this will appear. So you have another drop down. In this case, it has a keyboard here and then a drop box or drop down box here. And you can search what key. So let's say you have gamepad, you have all these. You can do a gamepad D up or gamepad left thumbstick up, right? So it has that. Even has a if I see just left thumbstick. Ayan, you have x-axis, y-axis. You have even 2D axis. All right. So for now, we just need the forward is WS. So if you can search here W, you will eventually find it. Or you can just press the keyboard here, and it'll wait for a input from you. So if I press S, ayan, this will show up here. If I press it and press W, it changes. All right. So for forward, sir, is this recorded? Yes. So for forward, W. So that is positive. For backward, how do you put for backward? If you see the plus here on the right, it adds another control binding, another key for you to press. If I press this, there, this will appear. Now we have a second one. In this case, S. But the question is, how will the game know that W will be forward and S will be backward? With the use of these triggers and modifiers, most specifically the modifier. So modifier, it will modify the key, the value, based if you press the S or whatever your button you have here. So if you check here, add element, it adds a element here, and then you have different. The important here is negate, meaning it invert. So when you mean invert, pabalik. Instead of positive, it will go negative. So negate. Questions here? Or any clarification on negate? None. Okay.
So
Hmm.
actually,
Yes.
I couldn't quite catch what you said for negate.
For negate, it is basically the invert of the input that we are doing. So when you press W, it's from 0 to 1, right? And S, it should be 0 to 1, but since it is negate, it means it will go the opposite way. That it is now 0 to -1.
So is it like an on and off switch?
Not really, because if it's on and off, that means it's just 0 or 1 or 0 -1. With negate, it's we could go like point -5, 0.75 depending. Because right now, sure, WS, we have no control on how much input it is, right? But if you think about like controller, the joystick, right? You have control on how much input would it have. You have point 0.1 until or point 0.3 to the max like 1, right?
Okay.
So instead of just an on-off switch, you have control on how much negative it'll be or how much positive it'll be, like the in between 0 and 1. Because if on and off, that's boolean. It's only 0 or 1. All right.
Okay, thanks, sir.
All right. So it's not just a on-off switch. It's more of like making the input negative. Right now, it may not make sense because when you press a key, it's literally just 0 or 1. But if you think about your controller, your joystick, where you have control on how much input you would have there, uh, it will make much more sense. Okay. Any more questions or clarification here? Sige. Next, we have move forward. Next, we have move right. So, again, if you press the plus here beside the mappings, it will show, oops, yeah, tama. It will have the next one here. We can choose another input action, move forward or move right. So if you do move right, next it is A or D. So here in Unreal, positives is to the right, just like if you think of a axis, 2D plane, right is positive, left is negative. So same thing here. D is positive and A should be negative. All right. So for move forward, S will have a negate, and then for move right, D or A has negate. It'll go to the negative or to the left. All right. So I'll save this. Now, how are we supposed to bind this to a controller? Or what happens when, I mean, because right now we said, sure, if you press this, it's positive, S, it'll be negative. But we don't have the actual actions in here. So let's do that. Let's create a controller. Again, right click, blueprint class, player controller. Is I want to use for the input for the player. I will call this demo player controller. If I open it, may look like this, but the important here is the event graph because nothing really happens in the report. If it should be all in here. Okay, so if you've played around with the event graph, you know that if you right click, all this will appear. You can connect this to stuff, connect this to stuff. Okay, because that'll be important because if you right click here and search our input action, we did IA move forward, so IA underscore, and then you'll see you have the action events and action values. If it's action value, it is literally only the value. Right? The thing is, like, what we want is the event when, like, what happens when the player presses it. So again, IA move forward. There. So there's a lot of lines here, a lot of entries here. What's important is triggered. Triggered happens when the moment you press or release the key that you said that we have placed in IA move forward. All right. So same thing. We also have IA move right. So why do you think I have move forward, move right? Why not move forward, move backward, move right, move left? The reason why I did that is because it is easy. It is much cleaner. It's much cleaner to have. To have like move forward is just for both the forward and backward. Move right is for the right and left. You have less of these here, and it's less confusing. Okay. So again, triggered is important one. So next, how do we make the pawn move? So you could search in Google how to move the pawn, but basically you need we need to get the pawn here. So get pawn, get controlled pawn. So get controlled pawn gives the pawn that this player controller is using. So the target itself, the return, is whatever the pawn this controller is using. So if you read the description, return the pawn that is currently controlled by this player controller. So we need this because I have access, so I can have access to add input, add movement input. So we need this. What this does is for the pawn, it'll just add movement. It'll add input to the movement of the pawn. In this case, since we plan to do a character, it will talk to the character movement, and then it will say what direction to go and what value. Questions here on add movement input?
Uh, I'm a little curious. Are there other ways to do exactly that, or
I mean, you have the most basic, which is like uh, set actor location. Oh, wait, I need to get the pawn. Set actor location. This is the most, or add actor world offset. Sure, this is the most basic one, but what's nice with this is it uses the other functions of the movement component, such as how fast it is, if they're able to climb this stuff, um, like what happens if they hit the wall. This one, because it doesn't really have that capabilities. You're just adding the you're just adding the offset to the actor, but it won't check. It won't check if it can climb up here. It may there's a chance that it will even go through walls. Unlike this does. This actually checks for everything. Okay, so that's another way. You can do this, sure, but I do not recommend. Uh, what else?
right? Thanks. Or wait, there's more.
Yeah, I'm thinking if there's more than this movement. I mean, sure, there's set actor location, but that means you have to manually get the current location, get actor location, and then add something. No, it's just too much hassle. Like compare this to just this, and to this. This is way too hassle. Okay, so add movement input. It makes use of the movement component of the pawn. All right, so I'll put this in triggered. Question is, what direction should it go? If I want to make the pawn move forward to where it's facing, what do you need? What should I get from the pawn, or like what direction? Sige. So, to get yung forward direction, there's a thing called get actor forward vector. So what is this forward vector? Let me pick up a character here just so you can see. Uh, there. The forward is that red line that you see here, or technically this blue line, this blue arrow, I mean. So that forward changes when you rotate the character. So the forward of this is now this line. The forward of this actor now is towards here. So if I say the direction should be the actor forward vector, it will be on the direction where the pawn is facing at. Okay? So that is the actor forward vector. It is the forward of the actor. So let's put it back. That is my roll direction. And now scale. What is my scale? The scale of this is based on the forward's act value. So remember, we did a float for the move forward. Hence, this is a float. This will be the scale. Okay? So same thing here for move right. It's the same idea. So actually, you see the document, what it tells you is to actually create a variable. So both ways works. Like a variable of the player character. But anyway, so same thing here. Get controlled pawn. I want now the get actor right vector, meaning the where the right of the actor. And finally, add movement input. So we plug this in here and action value here. So you can clean this up on your own. You can lower this. Oh wait, sorry. Word direction right here. Okay. Now that we set up our forward and right, we now have to say that this player controller should use this input mapping contacts we created. Where's that? Controllers. Why? Because right now, sure, we have move forward, move right. The thing is, this controller does not know what keys or what value would happen, right? It doesn't know. You have to add it. Now you have to say now this controller is using our demo mapping context. So in here, uh, I would search. So this one is really more fun, no? Copying this part because it's quite unique. In here, we search for enhanced. Ayan. Get enhanced input local player subsystem. Now, which one here? I believe it's this. So this is right if there is nothing in here because there's another one. Enhanced. This is the other one. In here, it has this one where you have to say self. This one automatic it says that this is the player controller, right? So same thing. It's just that this one has an extra node. In here, we do add. Wait, what's this? Mapping context. Add mapping context. See, so beauty of the search. You can search for certain things here. Like I tend to forget which what is the name of the function. You could search here, mapping context. It shows you everything that has mapping context on its name. Right? So if you right click here actually, if you right click here, you won't be able to search mapping context. Why? All these actions is based on player controller. And it's context sensitive. If you turn this off, sure, lalabas siya. But the thing is, it also shows all the other functions with mapping context. Hence, I would rather have this on. This way, I have more control on what functions are in that I can use. Like in here, if I pull this, I have the right ones. Context. Okay. So we have this mapping context. It is the demo mapping context, the one that we created. Compile. So this is it. This is your controller. Ito na yung code nyo for player controller. For the character, has specific ones where you need to have a camera. So we can do that. So in here, so that's our. Wait, questions? Questions here or clarification? None. Sige. Siguro tip. You can actually delete this instead of like right-clicking here and break link. You could actually delete it by pressing Alt, holding Alt pala, and pressing the line. It deletes. Same thing here. I could hold Alt. I click here, deletes. Okay. Another thing also, if you want to make your lines really clean, and the thing is, these lines have no break in it, you could actually put a break by double clicking. And this new node pops up, and I can do this. Okay, just to make it, just to make things much cleaner. Okay, okay. So carry on. Let's create our character. So we have a character. Oh, I already have characters. Whatever. I'll just call it character. Character. Let's create our blueprint for character. In this case, demo character. If you open it, it's like this. Again, you could, if you've done milestone 1, you should be able to like, see, like you can just add mannequin here, just so it's there. Let's move it a bit here. Let's even give him a arm, a spring arm, just so you can see. So spring arm. I want it just connected to our capsule, and then also camera. Here's our camera. Let me just adjust it a bit. Okay. So let's let's test it out. To test it out, if you go to window and world settings, so this is world settings. You have access to some settings of the world, but importantly, the game mode. So right now, I want to test our demo character. So default pawn is our demo character. Our player controller class, demo player controller. And what happens if I play, there's our mannequin. This is D and A. This is W, S. Okay, so you see this thing interacts with the environment by going up and down. If you did just add local, um, like add, what, what function did I say? The add offset, add actor, world offset, you wouldn't have that. Okay, questions here? Clarification? So again, world settings is just for me to set up our stuff. I mean, I could have created a game mode for this and set there the pawn classes and the pawn class and the controller class, and then override it with the game mode I created. Well, same bananas. Questions? Okay, no questions. So technically, that is milestone one. Milestone two, you'll be dealing with um collider. A collider to trigger the player exit. So let me just bring out paint. So I want you guys to imagine this. This is the idea for milestone two. Let's say you have the player right here. This is the tile 1, tile 2, tile 3, and they're all connected. There's no space. For now, there's a space because I want to see. I want to separate it for you to see. Okay? So the thing is, how do we make the game so that it would infinitely spawn without having to like depend on like timing on how long, how many seconds it takes him to pass here or something, right? So I wouldn't want to depend on that. Why? What if for some reason he was stuck here on a obstacle? Na-stuck siya sa obstacle. And ang sinabi lang natin is 5 seconds. What happens is this tile gets deleted after 5 seconds. He falls down to infinite. So we don't want that, right? So the idea here is we have a invisible collider on the end of our tiles. The moment he exits, oops, the moment he exits here, a new tile will appear on the end. And it would also have a collider or a trigger, more specifically. Okay, so that's the idea. So this one, what happens is after he crosses this also, it gets deleted. This is to save memory because if you do not delete that and you create millions of tiles in here, kawawa computer ni user, ni player because you have millions of things that are not being used in the level and eventually their memory exceeds and the game crashes. So what we want is we have to delete these tiles when the player overlaps it or crosses it na. Okay? So that's the idea. So the thing is, how do we do that? So I won't give you like I'll just teach you how to overlap this and what happen. I mean, how to call an event when this overlaps. So let's do that. I won't give you the answer because that's for you to think about. So let's create a actors na folder actors. Let's create let's say our actor na tile.
Sir, I have a
Yes.
question.
Hmm.
How does how do the are collider checkers in Unreal more complex than in Unity? Kasi yung issue na inimagine ko lang sa example is like on exit,
Mm-hmm.
it just means on any direction. So like you can exit left to trigger the creation of the next tile.
Uh
So
huh.
papasok ka tapos atras ka.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the idea of that is how well I get someone. See, Unreal doesn't. Yes, he doesn't really check. He doesn't have a check on which side he entered and exited. But then again,
Oh.
when is the chance that the player is here and he went backwards? If our code is to just make him go forward.
Okay, okay,
Right,
okay,
right.
okay.
So so yeah, good question, but it never would happen because our all our code is just make him move forward. Okay. So yeah, see, Unreal doesn't have that complexity, but I would say it is more complex than Unreal as than Unity, and I will show you why. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, none. So let's say we have our tile here. Oh, sorry, not tile. S- Cube. A cube here with point 0.2 thickness. Sure. Oh no, let's make it point 0.1. Point 0.1. Let's make it a square. Uh, maybe square. Ayan, sige. Abayin natin. Ayan. So this is our tile. It tells you should put it in. You should put this here by the end, etc., etc. And then we have our colliders. We have our box collision. We have our sphere collision. We have capsule collision. Okay, so those are our three. In this case, box. Our box here, and let's say we put it in the end. See, box collision. Let me show you all others. But there's a special thing here called shape, where you can actually change its shape based on the number. So this is different from scale. They're both different, and I'll also show you why. Pero, uh, I would say you'd rather use box extent so you can control how big it is instead of basing it on scale. So let's say here. Here's our box collision. Now, how do we give an event? Like what happens when it overlaps or on hit or on end overlap? If you right click the box collision, you should see add events or add event. And you have all of this. So you have add on component begin overlap and overlap wake sleep, etc. There's another way also. If you click on the box, you scroll all the way down, you still have the same thing. On component hit, begin overlap, then overlap. Ayan. For now, I'll just click here. On component, on component begin overlap. And you are met with this event. So this event will run when a actor or character overlaps, starts to overlap this box. So we have all of this. We have what component that was overlapped, what actor, what's the component from the actor that overlapped, etc. We have super results. This one, I'd rather say other actor is important. Okay, so let's try it out. For now, let's put a print string. Print string, it will just print. It's like a debug that appears on the upper left. So let's print string other actor. So this will just print yung name ng other actor. So let's try it out. Let's put this here. Let's delete our previous stuff. Yeah. Okay. So if play, notice on the upper left it's blank. The moment I pass it, demo character 0. If I pass backwards again, demo character 0. Okay. So that's how this works. So same thing. If I do on component and overlap, and let's again print string, and let's say the string would be again the name of our actor or character. So you'll notice if I enter it, demo character 0. If I exit it, demo character 0. So if you want, let's make it more ano. That is append. Append. This is just so I can like combine two strings together. Append. I will append this as begin overlap column. Same thing here. Append. This one and overlap. Don't forget to compile. Let's play. If I overlap it, begin overlap, demo character. If I cross it and overlap, demo character. All right. Questions here? Clarification? So that's how you add an event. Questions? None? Sige. So what do you think is the difference of this two on component begin overlap, on component end overlap, from this event actor begin? Sorry. What's the difference of this on component begin overlap sa event actor begin overlap? What do you think? Besides, of course, the overlap component, other components, etc. What is the difference of this? Or when do you think will this happen? Anyone? Okay. So let's test it out. For now, I will break that. I'll print string here again. Print string. I'll also append. Get display name. I want to append. I'll call this actor begin overlap colon. Okay. So if I cross this, you see both of it is called, right? So normal. Seems like parehas lang naman yung ano, yung itong dalawa na functions. See, event actor begin overlap and on component begin overlap. But what makes it different is that, let's say we add another collision, another box. So this box 1. So see box 1, let's say we put it in front of it right here with the box extent, increase there. What happens is, so you see those two, if I cross the first one, actor begin overlap is called. Actor begin overlap is called. If I cross the second one, actor begin overlap and begin overlap is called. So what do you think? What do you think does the actor begin overlap do? What does this do? Anyone?
Is it the first one that touches yung collision?
Yeah. Collision of what? Is there a specific collider that this would run? Correct, Cruz. So this runs on every collider on the actor. So Unity does the same thing, but this is the one that calls. You have semi to no control on which collider was called, unless you put what you call this? Unless you put a script for each of the collider, right? But you don't have unlike this, ito you can specifically choose which one. In this case, the box has a begin overlap. Box 1 doesn't have. All right. So it has that control. So that's why it's a little bit more complex itong si colliders. Okay, okay. All right. Questions? None. Sige. What if I try to do box ones on component hit? On component hit, let's print string, and I will just call the name of the actor that hits it. Compile. Play. I'll try to pass through. So actor begin overlap is called. That means I have already passed through it. But the print string that we created is not called. So why is that? Why is it that the actor begin overlap is called here, but my on hit is not called?
Does it need to be touching a physical body?
Correct. So by the word hit, that means it's gonna touch. It's gonna somehow, those two actors will somehow touch each other, right? Somehow. So that's why hit. In order to do that, you can play around this. I think this is for mouse 1 3, but ayan, it's about this collision presets. Because you can choose how it would collide. Right now, because it's overlap, all dynamic. But if you make it block all, for example, if I make the box one block all, you'll see the demo character is spammed because for every frame, it is hitting. Okay? So you notice the actor begin overlap one is not called anymore because I am no longer overlapping this component. Sure, I can overlap the other one. Lalabas siya. But the second one, I am no longer able to overlap. Hence, actor begin overlap cannot be called. Okay? So that is the three. Begin overlap and overlap hit. You have also this, but it's up to you on how you use it. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's don't. The moment you have more than one collider here and you want different functions, don't use this na. You have to use the components events like this one. Component begin overlap and overlap. All right? Questions here? Wala. Okay. Uh, what else do I have? Okay, okay. Let's talk about this again. Sure, ha? Wala kang questions. You can ask any questions related to this or whatever you talked about.
I can't really think of one right now,
Okay,
other
that's
than what
fine.
I asked earlier, sir. If that's
All
okay.
right, that's fine. That's fine. In case naman you have
Oh,
questions, yes.
someone asked about it all being just for collisions.
The last one, okay, Cruz. No, that's the no. It's about this one. So actor begin overlap is for all colliders, but yeah. Okay, so if there's no questions, okay, let's talk about again this. The action of him passing through. I mean, our player passing through. This one getting deleted, and then a new one is placed on the end. Okay. So the thing is, who is responsible for deleting the tile? Who is responsible for deleting? The moment the player crosses this, it gets deleted. Who is responsible
Wouldn't
for that?
it wouldn't it be its own thing, sir?
Okay. So the thing with having itself delete itself, it kind of breaks its the OP. It kind of breaks how things should work as is. So the thing is, we want our tile to just be a tile. So what should a tile do? A tile should be a platform. It should be a platform. Wow, small. It should be a platform for the player to step on. It should eventually it should hold like the obstacles, hold obstacles and coins, right? This is the only things for tile. Ito lang yung gagawin niya eh. Kasi if you think about him deleting itself, that is like that is should only be the mechanics of our game, the whole game. So the mechanics of the game is when a player crosses a tile, a new one appears, and then the thing gets deleted. But the thing is, this one, si game mode, dapat ang my response. He should have the responsibility of deleting it and not tile. Because tile, we just want it to be a tile. Same thing. Let's say orange. Orange just want to be an orange. It is a fruit. It's color orange. The taste should be tangy, right? It's just being as is as an orange. Same thing, the tile, we just want to be a tile. We want something else to handle it, which is the game mode. Gets ba yun?
Not
Uh,
really. Could you try?
Another
Could you?
example. Uh, let's say a thinking of games. Let's say a health component. The health component has its own properties like the max health, the current health, even has functions such as take damage or heal. But should it be able to delete the player? Should health component be able to delete the player when it reaches zero? When their health reaches zero, or player or any other unit, should it be able to delete it?
So I have a question.
Yes.
Um, kasi for my understanding, yung game mode is basically yung game manager.
Yes.
But in Unity, that's an object.
Yeah.
Like we create an empty object.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
So how is that in Unreal?
Remember that everything is an actor.
Even
The
so,
the game mode is also an actor. It is an object, but we choose to have it called as a game mode base. But technically, it's an actor also. So
okay. So
same
it
idea. It's just that how we
okay.
place it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How we place it is just like in here. We could
Yung
also set up
inisip ko
stuff. Mm-hmm.
was like, could we just code all of that into the player?
Which one?
Because yung well, the collision interaction and the generation.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Because you said of course yung player wouldn't delete itself,
Uh huh. Uh huh.
but if it's not gonna delete itself, yung goal was to create the tiles. I would just create that. I mean, depending on the the ayun, it's just an idea na I would just code the collision events within the player actor, not necessarily the game
Mm-hmm.
mode. Kung mali lang yun, if there's anything wrong with that logic, diba?
So yeah, I get the idea. So the code here is when player collides or overlaps a tile, player will delete it, right? That's the idea. And then somehow we will spawn a new one here on the end. So that's the code. The other thing is you break the player's uh what's it called this? You break the player's responsibility of being just a player. So we want node player to just move around, collect stuff. Him deleting stuff makes it somewhat a god object na. It is doing multiple things. It is now deleting tiles. It is now spawning tiles. It is doing multiple things. And one thing na pangat, a bad thing about that is what happens if you share this code to your to another programmer. And let's say he added more functionality. Si player, or at least the script of the player may or may not bloat, meaning more code is added in the player, more code is added because it is doing so many things na eh. Like start kind of from here, deleting and adding. Maybe they'll add more stuff here. No longer looks like a player kasi dami ng, yeah, tama. So, too much responsibilities. Kaya, like imagine what we have here, we are trying to move the responsibility to their uh, respective classes. In this case, deleting and spawning the tile, it is a game manager kind of thing. We want the manager to handle that. I mean, sure, you can have a tile spawner who handles that. Pwede rin. That could work. Okay lang yun yun. I've seen people do that. It makes sense also. There's nothing wrong about that. There's also nothing wrong if game mode handles it. Okay? Any more questions?
Just a quick question lang po.
Yes.
Does that mean that any na function that affects the game has to be yung game manager yung maghahawak?
Um so depends kasi you can also have another actor to handle stuff. So there's that. But it really depends on what you want, really. Uh like let's say eventually I mean this is for GAMPRG too. Like si tower defense, right? Kawawa si game mode kung siya din bahala kung uh, when to spawn the enemies, how fast they spawn, to count. Sometimes it's better to have a separate class for that,
Mm-mm.
right? So it really depends. It really depends on what you want.
So does that mean na dapat iba rin yung mag-handle ng character death or si game mode pa rin?
So si character death, I would say dapat si game mode. Siya dapat yung magsasabi kung ano mangyayari kapag napatay si player, ano mangyayari kapag uh, what else? Kapag na-quit si player, I would say game mode should handle that.
Mm-mm.
Alright. So si player death kasi I feel like it is a game manager kind of thing. Game manager should handle ano mangyayari. Or create a secondary actor spawner for it. Like a tile. Yeah, exactly. You can have a tile spawner or a I would rather say tile manager. Tile manager is okay. That could work. Okay lang rin yun. There's nothing wrong with that. So you could have that. You could have game manager just, I mean, game mode just handle the death or something. So pwede din yun. Okay?
So, bawal na yung same actor would delete itself.
Depends.
Okay, depends pa rin.
Depends rin also. Kasi what if their goal is really just to delete itself? Example, we have a coin. Yeah, bullets should delete themselves, correct. Coin or bullets. So si coin, kapag na-collect ni player, better na coin will just delete itself. Because it should not be in the game anymore. Um, it's what happens when the player overlaps it. Something like that. Something like that. Same thing with projectile. If a projectile hits a floor, it's better that it deletes itself instead of having the game mode track when has the projectile hit something. Kawawa naman si game mode yun. Nitrack na lahat ng bullets. Kailan siya mag-delete. Okay, so there are some cases. Okay, does that answer your question, or is there more questions? Okay, none. Okay. 7:30. Sige, that's 15 minutes. So we have already stated na game mode or maybe a tile spawner deletes the tiles and creates a new tile. So nasabi natin yun. The question is, how does the tile spawner our game mode know that the player has crossed the tile? Right? Paano niya malalaman?
Would it use like a trigger?
Sure, we have a trigger here, right? Trigger here on this box slider. Like pag na box kapag nag-overlap na si player sa box slider, it will trigger something. But question is, what will it trigger? What will happen? How does referencing like it needs users could also do event as for just global stuff. Very complicated kasi yun. Okay. So, ang first idea is, what if si Tile meron siyang copy or may reference? What my handwriting on mouse is not the best. Reference to game mode or tile spawner. Right? Paano, paano yun? Kasi si tile spawner si game mode, siya yung magsispawn. And sure, we could, what we call it inject. We inject a reference to it sa tile. Right? Si tile spawner or game mode. Right? So we could technically inject it here sa tile mismo. Pero, ano yung pero dito? If you do that, that means tile now has power, or it now has it can now call things from the game mode or tile spawner. So what does that look like? Since I have now a reference to tile spawner, I can now access to spawn. I can have access to delete and stuff. Okay, so makes sense. Makes sense for us as a programmer. But what if another programmer starts working on your project and sees, "Oy, my reference is a game mode. As a tile spawner game mode." And he starts calling other things. And he starts doing other things. Kasi he has, si tile has power or has access to its functions. Right? So now, uh, because of that, one good idea is we have to somehow not give it a reference, but be able to send a message from here to here somehow. Game mode needs an instance of a tile. Same thing. Let's say game mode. Game mode has tiles like an array. Yep, I'm gonna type that. Array of tiles. Meron siyang array of tiles. Paano niti-check kung kailan nag-cross si player sa tile? Does that mean on every frame or every tick, ang gagawin niya is to check on every tick. Load. On every tick, check if player overlap. Right? Doesn't mean meron siyang ganun. Ang gagawin na to on all tiles. So which is bad. So now imagine that every tiles check mo on every tick. Kung may boolean ka na has passed or something or has exited. Right? Pangit yun. It'll affect the players or the users game naman because magsa-slow down na. This is gonna chug a lot. You're iterating through all the tiles and checking every tick. Okay? So, pangit yun. So, si Emil, tama yung naisip niya. We have to use something called events. Where the game mode is actually listening to the exit, something like an exit event. So pinapakinggan niya. So that's the idea. We can go further about this, pero ang idea is when the game mode spawns a tile, it listens agad to a event that is here. So let's delete that. Let's delete this now. So it's listening to this event na exited. So that when the player overlaps this or exits it, this is called, and the one listening it to is game mode or tile spawner. So kung na-call, kung na-call to, game mode will do something and eventually will delete this tile. So that is the idea of event dispatchers, which I'm not sure if I'm able to discuss that. Okay, tingnan ko. Hold on. Let me bring that up. GAMPRG1. Choose event dispatcher. This is a little bit outdated. It's a lot. But yeah, I can talk about this more next time. Actually, ito yan. Okay, so it's something, what do you call, event or event dispatchers. That is Unreal's ito yung ano, ginagamit niya for events. Okay? So you'll see here has call, has bind, has assign. Okay? Questions? Clarification? Too much information? Kaya pa ba ngayon?
Uh, I actually wanted to ask if there was like, if in case we wanted to look into this more, do you know any places where we could search up or do our research for ourselves?
So we could search on oops, Unreal Event Dispatchers. So you could learn about it. You could go. Hopefully, we can find Unreal API of Event Dispatchers. What is this? Yeah, there's this here. So you could try. You could search about it. You could watch about it. But the idea is, I'll talk about it more. The idea is, this is our listener. We have a listener. This listens to events that will um it'll listen to events that were called, which is in this case this one. Pero it's a whole other topic that I'm not
Okay.
sure I'm able to to talk about now. Pero again, you could do. Today is the, well, again, when it comes to deadlines, not too strict. But today is the deadline for milestone one. Tomorrow, next week is the milestone two, and then we can talk about this for milestone two.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Okay, because this one there is more to it, eh. Or at least I need to have you guys understand the idea of events. And given the time, feel ko na sobrang naata ko yun ng information, hindi na to papasok, which I don't want to happen. So there's a lot of this. This is available naman in our Big Sky, I think. Yeah, there is here. If you want to read about it more. Pero, ayun, we'll talk about this next week.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. But alam ko ma-overload na yung iba, pero ano, hindi naman nabitin, pero there's just like, I can't figure out, kasi right now, yung issue ko now is how would you, kasi medyo I forget yung logic sa Unity, so I can't just like translate what I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to imagine. Pero kasi we would have, let's say, 10 tiles. So when the event is called, how does game mode know which one to delete? Just because I'm assuming the event that would be called, or like so the tile would call an event, the game mode would listen to the event,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but then how does it know, like, is it in are these tiles in an array? How does it know which, I forget yung logic talaga kung how, like, kasi kanina I was thinking of prefabs, diba? Like we can't just directly reference it because
Uh-huh.
it technically we're spawning these tiles. So then I was like, how, I forget the logic of how we delete prefabs.
Okay,
how,
okay.
how do we
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
delete specific?
I
Yeah, yeah.
understand. So, one way is, well, if you're gonna send a message, you could send data to it. In this case, I could send a data of itself as that is a message. Wait lang, I'll call this style. So what happens is, if I call on exited, I can say, ito yung message. Ako. I am the message on exited. So how does the game mode listen to that? So let's say nag-spawn ka ng tile and you get the on tile exited. We have access to which tile is gonna be deleted because that is the message I sent. Okay, so the idea is player exits, I call exited, my message, self. Game mode is listening to that. I have received the message. This is the tile that is to be deleted. Right? So it's about having yung message. Kasi kung wala to, so because that's a good idea. I mean, you were there na. Kung wala kasi to, what we have here is not this, but uh, custom event this. And you're right. How does he know which? How does the game mode know which tile to be deleted? Hence, you see that in milestone 2, it tells you that you should have an input of tile. Okay? So, sa mga Unity, and you've played around with Unity action and Unity event. Is it called Unity event? Forgot. Ano ko Unity action? But anyway, yeah. It's all about It's all about the parameters or the input. Okay. Questions? Other more questions? Clarification? None? Okay. So, if wala naman, let me just double check kung andito pa yung mga tao. But I mean, kung andito pa yung dalawa. Garcia? Nabaco? Oh, you were here. Late. Late. Garcia. Pumasok ba si Garcia? Like at least like appear, disappear. Sige, wala. Okay. So yeah. Actually, you know what? No. Just send. Yeah, so that's it lang for today. You could read about again event dispatchers later on, pero the topic here mostly is about for medyo. This is half of milestone 2, mostly about milestone 3 actually, and so on. Okay, so kung wala kayong questions, that's it all for today. Again, you can message me if you have any questions or clarification.
I one random question
Okay.
because yun nga, half of that I was also just thinking I forget what it was. Um, but you only showed us front and right. Is
Yeah.
Unity based on like is there gonna not be left and back? Is it gonna be invert?
Ah. So
Or,
because of our code
yeah,
here, in um demo mapping context, or at least what we entered, we said that W will just move forward. S though has a negate, kaya it'll go opposite of forward, which is backward.
so it'll be invert. We'll be inverting it in case
Yeah, yeah. So yes,
there's no app.
you could have multiple naman. You have forward, I move forward, move backward. Okay lang. Really up to you. But this is like combined na yan. Actually, there's a way pa nga na combine mo parehas. Magiging 2D axis, which is what move forward is using. Ay, move IA underscore move is using. But kahit ito lang, pwede na. Okay, again, no more questions? More? Sige.
Fine.
Yes? None?
No, I'm
Okay.
just waiting for Claxton because I needed to ask you something school
Okay.
related.
Okay, sige. So yeah, that's all for today. You guys can go enjoy your night and see you all again next week.
Thanks, sir.
All right, all right.